Hi, welcome to this very special edition of Side Quest where we're talking Parasite Eve. I have a special guest with me today. Can't talk, but JJ's back again. Hey JJ, how are you doing?
What's up? I'm here and I'm excited. Great game.
Awesome. It is a great game, and we just did a video collaboration over on JJ's channel. Game Room Revival on YouTube. It was a really fun project, man. I'm glad.
I think it turned out awesome too. To be honest with you, I like as soon as I got done editing it, I like, all right, I'm gonna watch. And I texted you. I was like, I'm gonna watch it once through, and then I'm gonna see if I gotta fix anything. And I watched it through, and I was like, I think this is like my favorite video that I've done so far. It's so cool. So yeah, that's legit. Man. It's awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
So good. The first off, it gave me the excuse to go back and play Parasite Eve, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time anyway. But to actually have reason to do it was enough for me to get in and do it. But on top of that, I mean, we each wrote kind of our own review, and then you put them together and made an awesome video out of it, and it turned out great. So I highly recommend that everyone go check out his video on YouTube. It's great. Trust me. Go watch it.
It was really fun. Well, it was fun to make editing. So I never, like, before I started doing this, I realized people always complain about editing and how long it takes and stuff. And I did a little bit in high school. Man, it was a 12-minute video. It took me like 8 hours to put together. It was crazy.
No kidding, man. Yeah. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to making a video like that. Editing is just one part of it. That's just one single part of it. Yeah. That takes a long time to do. But I mean, writing the review, well, playing the game, first of all, you got to play through the game. Then you got to write your review. Writing your review is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I mean, when I was writing down points of the game that I could remember while playing it, I felt like I needed to probably take notes while I played the game, and sure. I didn't do that. But I think I got most of what I wanted to get out of.
I thought it was great.
I guess. Yeah.
So that was fantastic.
So writing the review, and then you had to put together the script. You had to put together how the shots were going to go, like all of it. It was a time intensive project, but it turned out great as a result. So
I got to kudos to you too, because you I love Mark and Brian from my old podcast.
Yeah,
but they never met deadlines ever. Like ever. And the first time I asked you for something, you're like, when do you need it done? I was like, I don't know, this day? And you're like, all right, done. And it was finished. And I was like, oh crap, now I have to get it done. So that pushed me to get it done on time, because I was like, come on, it's a lot. I don't expect him. It's fine. And then you did it. And I was like,
man, there's nothing
busy this weekend.
There's nothing that frustrates me more than when somebody tells me a deadline and then they don't do it. It's just like, because I'm a planner and I have to plan things around.
I am too.
Certain things, and it's like if I've made plans to do something else and it doesn't happen, then I'm like, I feel kind of lost and screwed. Not to mention my job is nothing but deadlines, so I'm already in that mode.
Understandable.
So, it was awesome, but the reason for this podcast is we are going to go into some spoilers that we couldn't really get into with the review, specifically story spoilers. So we're not going to do a rehash or anything of the video. If you guys want to see the video review, please go watch it. Otherwise, if you've already played the game and you would like to hear our opinions and our frustrations, maybe of the storyline or something, then stick around. Otherwise, spoilers. So don't listen if you don't want to hear the spoilers.
Earmuffs.
For a 20-year-old game. Exactly.
Right.
So to kick things off, man, I kind of didn't want to start with the end of the game, but I kind of want to start with the end of the game. The end of the game,
show.
Man, the end of the game, it frustrated me to no end, that last boss battle. It literally made me almost put the thing down and not touch it again. I was so frustrated. And I'm talking specifically about the final boss. There's like 4 versions of this boss.
Yeah.
And this is right after you fight Eve, by the way. And I don't remember if you even get a save. Yes, you do. You get to save right after you fight Eve. Eve was not a hard battle, but it was a harder battle from what we've played in the past. And so you go from that straight to the little demon thing. What was it called? Do you remember?
Oh God, no. I just called it Demon Baby.
It was a demon baby, and it was a creepy looking demon baby with the little cries. Oh man, when I heard that coming out of my little Vita, it was like,
it was disturbing.
It really was. And he's coming out of the water. And anyway, that whole sequence I thought was really cool. And I'm glad that I saw it through to the end, because the ending was good. It was just like, why does the change in difficulty at that final battle didn't make any sense to me.
I will tell you, and this is probably because I had to do it 4 times, and 2 of which was because I died on the final thing where you kill the boss and you're running through at the very end.
Yeah.
I actually, when I got to like my 3rd and 4th time, I smoked all 4 stages. It was super easy and just plowed through it. And a big reason for that also, I don't know if this maybe was your issue or something like that, but when you finish that battle with Eve, the first one, and then you transition to the next place where you're on the ship, and you do get that opportunity to save, for some reason, right where the maybe that's why they do it. When the dude asks you, like, what armor do you want me to keep for you, and that's what you can carry over to the next save.
Yeah.
It strips you of your armor, so you're not wearing it anymore. And so the first time that I went into that battle, I had no armor on, and I got to I think the 3rd phase, and I got absolutely annihilated because how am I supposed to even dodge anything? Because it hits so freaking hard. And then the time after that,
maybe I didn't notice that. So you're saying after you talk to him and you name your armor, it actually de-equips it?
You have no armor on. All you have is your weapon on. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that. Maybe. And
it made a big difference as far as how much damage you took, especially if you've been leveling it up at all.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, I mean, that part, I was hoping to carry all of my stuff and not just a few of it, like the named stuff. So, as I could recall, you just carry the named items with you. So,
you can carry 1 weapon and 1 piece of armor, and that's it.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
The game basically just assumes that you've been kind of putting all your points towards just those 2 pieces of gear, and then whatever inventory slots or anything. I literally, every single point I did the entire game went to attack, because I remember the last time I played it and I was like, I never did enough damage. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm not running into that this time. I'm going to focus on dodging and just hitting really hard, and it paid off in the end for me.
So where I made a mistake is, like you were saying in your review, talking about how it makes sense to upgrade your number of shots, you would think. 7 shots equals 7 times the damage. No, it doesn't. It actually was the weakest weapon that I had, and I was really disappointed by that. And first of all, it takes low damage with each shot, but you are kind of frozen while she goes through all 7 shots, leaving you open for attack. So that was not the proper way to play that game. So I had to rebuild a new weapon before I went into that last battle.
You can replace that 7 shots though with something else. You can remove that, because I did it. I put on 7 shots because I was experimenting as well. I did it at one point in the game, and then you can actually take that off and replace it with something else. And I replaced it with a 2. And then you get, at one point, you get there's an ability that lets you do 2 actions in 1 turn. So I was actually doing 2 shots and then 2 shots. So I was doing 2 shots at full power, and then 2 shots at full power all in 1 turn, and that's how I did so much damage at the end. It was crazy.
So with the same gun, it was doing more damage with less shots?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's weird to me. I guess I never noticed that whenever you're adding shots to a gun, it was decreasing the amount of damage it does.
Yeah, it spreads it out, but I don't know. I read somewhere that it spreads it out evenly, but there's no way that that's true, because I was doing so much less with that many shots. It was ridiculous.
Significant. Yeah.
Yep.
So I had to change. Actually, the only gun that I had on me at that time was a shotgun, so I couldn't get much distance in between me and the final boss.
Oh, so yeah, you definitely had a rough time with the final boss.
Man, it was rough. I did beat him the first time, surprisingly, but it was not an easy trek. The only other problem that I had was with my armor, or my PE energy. My PE energy, it was replenishing. I was using a lot of it because I like to use that ultimate form of Aya, excuse me. So I would let that all charge up, use it, and then have to wait for it to charge up again, and then my PE would just stop. I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, how do I charge this? The game doesn't really explain to you how to recharge your PE. So I had to get online and look it up, and it turns out that you have to switch your armor back and forth to charge it up. And so however that works out, one piece of armor helps your PE charge, and then once your PE energy stops charging, then you have to switch armor, and then it'll do it again. And the good thing is you can still reuse the old one that you took off, and it'll work again like new. It's really weird system that isn't explained. And
so how many times did you actually get to use that move in battle?
I used it on the second form.
Like more than once though on the second form?
No, I don't think so. Maybe. I don't remember now. But I know I didn't use it on the first form because the first form was
first form's a joke. Yeah.
But the second form, I may have used it twice. I know I used it at least 4 times, I would say, throughout the entire battle.
Wow.
And in the last battle, you can't really use it because
it doesn't even do anything.
It doesn't do anything. Because the final form only takes 1 damage per shot, so
correct until you get the cutscene with the bullets that have her DNA in it or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And so the most frustrating part about this is that I knew that it was going to have multiple forms. I mean that's a given for any SquareSoft game or JRPG for that matter.
Yeah,
it's something that I wish they could get away from, and maybe they have. I don't know. I haven't played many modern JRPGs to find out if they've really gotten away from that.
JRPGs have always had issue with that as far as like they do that to make it feel epic. And I think there's plenty of, other games outside of JRPGs that show that you obviously don't have to do that to make something epic. I think there's I'm sure there are examples, and if I had some time, I could probably think of some. But I think for the most part, they've always relied on like just these crazy transformations and being like, "Oh, you thought this was my final form," like.
It's very Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
It's frustrating to know that you're going to go into a boss battle knowing that what you're fighting now is not going to be what you end up fighting ultimately, and so I always expect 1. Maybe 2, but 3 or 4, no. 3 transformations.
3 transformations, yeah.
Yeah. That last transformation, I was like, man, come on. I'm done with this. I was already almost dead. I was out of healing items. I was like, I can't do this. Somehow I managed to get through it. That last form it's easy to dodge the little lasers that it shoots out.
Yeah.
And I managed to get through that, and I was so happy. I had to pause the game and take a breath and be like, got through it. I'm good.
Yep. And it's still not over.
It's still not over. So right after that happens, the little blob thing starts following you. And so you have to run into this door and go inside the ship. And instinctively, I see the freaking phone right there. I'm like, yes, I'm saving. I'm not doing that again. Screw that. Went up, saved my game, and ran to the door. And while she was going through her door animation, the thing touched me, and it's an instant kill. One hit shot, and you're done. And I was like, no way. There's no way. Sure enough, yeah, it killed me, and I had to restart the whole battle all over again. I was not happy.
That happened to me once because the first time that I died at that last part, I had accidentally ran the wrong way down one of the corridors, and so I ran right into it. Because when you're going through the corridors, it's kind of like you don't know which way is forward on the other side. And so I accidentally ran right back into him and died on that. And then the next time I was like, well, I'm not going to let that happen again, so I'm going to save. Nope. Killed me again.
Sounds like you had even more reason to quit than I did.
I was pissed at the end. I was so angry and ready to just throw it. And I was like, I'm not letting this game beat me again. I'm just gonna freaking do it. So, like I said, at that point, I had the final boss on lock. Like I was just plowing through all 4 phases, super easy.
Yeah,
and it was a joke. I was like at the point where I was like, you get to the cutscene where Daniel jumps out of the helicopter and everything, and I'm like, I just wish I could skip this crap. Come on, like as cool as it was to see the first time, I was like, all right, I don't need to see this 5 more times. Come on. So it was. I mean.
I got to see the creepy demon baby and weird water sounds that was coming out of it whenever he was crawling up on the ship.
Yeah.
So the sound effects in that game were really good. I like
that whole fight with the baby is kind of like a good example of that whole game. Like it kind of like shows you pretty much like, yeah, it's going to be really cool to look at and you're going to see some amazing technical things, but it's going to be weird as hell.
Yeah, pretty much. You didn't know what to expect, and I'm glad I didn't know going into this what to expect, because seeing that demon baby coming out of the water was pretty cool. But that night that that happened, I was already playing for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours on my Vita. I was just laying in bed, and I was like, oh, I'm so close. I got to get through it, push through it. And because actually, I just finished the museum, and the museum is the most frustrating level in the entire game. Yes. It was a cool level. I really liked the layout of it, and visually everything was cool about it, but it was a maze and I could never tell where I was going. Actually, yeah, that's another topic that I want to talk about, but to finish my thought real quick, I laid that game down after that happened. I got killed and I laid it down. I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. So I went to bed, woke up the next morning. Immediately before I got out of bed, I picked the Vita up and started playing it again. I was like, I'm going to beat him this time. Got through, beat him again, and paused my game, got YouTube up and found a walkthrough. And I knew that it was a one-hit kill if that thing touched me again, and I didn't want to do it again. So I watched screen by screen and did exactly what I was supposed to do based upon on the YouTube video, because you got to run away from that creature, and there's a lot of different rooms and camera angles that you got to contend with. And like you said, you might accidentally run back into him again, and I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I cheated on that final part.
Yeah, what's sad is that I had a map as well, and I still died twice on that final part. So,
it sucks.
Although the map didn't say "don't save here," and it didn't I was just I don't know. I think I was too worried to even look at the map. Really, the map I used, I have the strategy guide, and I collect them, so I have tons of strategy guides lying around, and I had one for this game, and I did the last time I played it too when I didn't finish it originally. So I mean, that just shows you I never read anything, because I'm sure in there somewhere probably told me hey, do this with your weapons and stuff, and I just ignored it. But I used it for the maps, so that's how I got through. You were saying the museum, that's how I got through it, was by using the maps on that, because there was no way I was going to navigate that many rooms without it. It would have been awful.
I didn't use a guide or anything for that part. Ugh. And I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go half the time. I was spending a lot of times, I knew that I wanted to get to a certain room that I'd been to before, but I couldn't remember how to get back to that room. And because every screen that you hit, usually with a Resident Evil game specifically, I remember the original Resident Evil, you have that map and you know where you are at all times, and it's easy to navigate. In this game, there's no map, there's no nothing. I mean, it's just walk through a room and guess where you are. And because the camera angles change and rotate, you can't perceive exactly where you are within a given room. I couldn't tell you the layout of that museum at all.
And to be honest with you, in a lot of games where I'm not using a guide or not using a map or some sort of walkthrough or something like that, especially in JRPGs, I don't mind that as much if I'm battling and I'm getting experience and fighting and stuff like that and leveling up. But this game plateaus your experience. So even though you might be fighting a ton of battles in that area, once you hit a certain level, it's going to take so long for you to even get to the next one that it's not even going to make a difference how many battles you fight, unless you want to actually just go crazy in there, which it's just ridiculous how long it takes otherwise. So it wasn't really even helping me get stronger or anything like that. And I kind of try to avoid that. I get the same way, like with people always rag on me when I say this, but with Zelda, I hate combat in Zelda because I feel like I never get anything out of it. I like to get experience points. I like to feel like I'm getting stronger. No, a rupee or an arrow is not going to cut it for me. Yeah. Let me level up.
No, you're exactly right. I feel the same way. If I don't get something out of defeating an enemy, then I'm not going to. I'm going to try to avoid it if I can. Yep. This game doesn't let you do that because of random encounters. So you kind of have to fight everything. The other problem is I kept running out of bullets. I reached a point in the museum. I was battling so much in the museum that I kept running out of bullets, and I couldn't figure out how to replenish them. Turns out there was one specific enemy in there that drops them, and so I would farm that enemy and build up my ammo stock before I tried to progress.
Do you remember what level you were at when you finished the game?
I don't. No.
I'm wondering, like, because I literally had I had 2 full ammo boxes at the end.
Wow.
Like I had like 2,000 bullets. Like it was ridiculous. I didn't have them both on me. I only had one on me.
That's so weird.
But and to be honest, like I remember the first time I played, ammo was an issue. So obviously you're definitely not alone in that. And I'm just wondering how that happened. That's so crazy.
Actually, I think I know how it happened. It's because I went through a good chunk of the game using that 7-shot gun that did hardly any damage. Yeah, that's exactly how that happened.
I ended up actually looking at a video that kind of taught me, because I was not going to let myself fall into that trap again, and I wanted to know a little bit more about it. And there was a video that I watched that actually, like a little tutorial on the gear system and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I think this game is lacking on is just instruction. Yeah. I'm all for a game that lets me learn on my own. I love that style. But when your gameplay elements are so intricate and not easily understood through just normal gameplay, then you're doing something wrong.
Not to mention with limited ammo like you ran into and not even that many places to go. It's not like you can put together a build, then go out to some place that has enemies, run around and fight for a little bit to see what works, go back and start over again. You got to conserve your ammo. You got to make sure that you're, not overdoing it. And there's a lot to take into consideration.
Yeah. I wish that I had understood the more ammo, less damage concept a little bit earlier on. I think I would have had an easier time, especially in the museum. But I did get through the museum. I got to a point where the enemies weren't anything to me. I think I over leveled myself for the museum because I played through it for so long. But it was still the museum was cool. I mean, I liked the exhibits that you could run through and check out. Some of them had. So here's another thing I didn't understand. Some of them would have an item, like you would go up and push the voice box and you would read the text over the description of the exhibit that you're looking at. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it would have, like, you would answer a question and it would give you an item, whether you were right, I guess, as far as I could tell. And I got an item once, and then the other ones was like, I couldn't even tell you the answer to some of these, but
you kind of just have to guess.
At that point in the game, that's when I was really desperate for ammo. So I was really like relying on those things to give me ammo. And I didn't realize about it was the Raptors, I think, that kept dropping ammo. So I didn't realize that yet. But then you go from that to realizing that, I guess that's where the whole storyline kind of, where you learn like what everything is and what's going on. And you learn that Eve is at a sperm bank trying to create a baby. And I thought that the storyline is so goofy and weird and interesting. It's unique.
Yeah. It's definitely out there.
It is, but it really was a driving force for me to keep going. I mean, to be honest with you, as much as I loved the originality of the battle system, I wasn't fully invested in it. I liked it more towards the beginning. I didn't like it so much towards the end. I felt like it was harder and harder to dodge incoming attacks. And I felt like it was my misunderstanding of how the weapon system worked was really hurting me. So
you sound pretty much like exactly how I was the first time I played it. Just yeah, and like there's some moves that are impossible to dodge, like that whole fight on the in the park where you're on the carriage. Like,
oh yeah,
how are you not going to get hit there? Like, really?
Was that your most frustrating battle?
No, honestly, like I said, I didn't have that hard of a time with the battles up until that very end when I didn't have any armor on. And that was because I would take huge damage. Like I said, I kept my number of shots low for most of the game, and also every single bonus point that I could get all went to attack. Every single thing. So I was just damage, and I was hitting so hard I would say between 150 and 200 damage per shot at the end. And when I'm doing 4 shots per turn, like I was just blowing through everything.
Well, to give you an idea, my 7 shots, I was doing between 15 and 25 damage per shot. It was significantly less. Yeah.
Yeah. That's rough.
It was. But as much as I complain about that final boss battle, it actually wasn't the most frustrating boss battle for me. The one that really gave me a hard time that I had to do over and over again was the I think it was in the not in the sewers. In the sewers.
The alligator type thing?
No, the second sewers. It was right before the museum. The level right before the museum.
Yeah, I remember this. I remember the second sewers. I'm just trying to think of what the boss was.
It was a spider or a scorpion or something like that.
Was it the worm that or the caterpillar worm looking thing that split into 4 things? Yep. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
That one gave me a hard time. I could not figure out how to dodge the attacks from that worm. Every time it would roll into a ball and then come at you, I couldn't dodge those. And then when you're trying to take shots at one specific portion of the worm to try to take it, because you got to take out basically 4 parts or 4 worms. And so I couldn't figure out which ones I was hitting, which ones I wasn't. So my damage was being spread out amongst the 4, and I wasn't able to take one out at a time or anything like that. On top of that, I was shooting I don't think I had the 7 shot yet at that point. I was shooting 5. So I was shooting 5 bullets at a time. But every time she stopped to take 5 shots, it's pew, pew.
Yeah.
Give me
and
that
they're hitting you the whole time.
Oh man. Rocking me, man. And that boss battle gave me a tough time. I almost wish, knowing what I know now, I almost wish that I could go back and try to no, I don't know. I wish that I could have or would have maybe looked at a guide or something to understand the battle system a little bit better.
It's a short game. Just take your current save file that you've got, play through it, and I don't right now, but I mean a couple years or something, honestly, go back and just do it that way.
That's why I played. I'm about midway through my second playthrough, and that's probably the biggest reason why I did that is because I felt like the game was hard for me the first time around, and the second time around I'm powering through it real easily, killing bosses within a matter of a few turns, and I'm loving it. So I'm taking full advantage of it and trying to get through. I'm curious to try out the Chrysler Tower, but I don't know. To me, it's the battle system was not my favorite part of the game, so I don't know if I want to do a level that's only that,
Right, and that was kind of my thing is that's why I asked you, do you know if there's any story additions that come with that and everything?
I think there is. I think I've heard that there is, so I don't know. But I mean,
if you do it, let me know.
I probably won't. I've got enough other games to play at this point, but
I hear that.
I do want to at least go in there and check it out, if for nothing else than to see the pre-rendered backgrounds and enemies and stuff that are in there.
It's unlocked at the beginning of the game, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's unlocked. I just haven't gone to it yet. But I mean, I think ultimately this is still a game that everybody should check out. It's, I'm griping about it now. I didn't gripe about it in the review because I don't want to put off a negative vibe. I don't feel negatively about the game. No. There was just some small things that were super frustrating for me. But that's kind of what you're doing here is you're kind of putting a little bit of a warning out there. Hey, don't fall into the same trap that I'm in, with do a little research on how the systems work and how to work on your gear and stuff. Did you ever upgrade your inventory, just out of curiosity? Yes.
Really?
I don't remember how many slots I got to, but yeah, I had quite a few open slots, but I would still fill them up easily.
Jeez. Yeah, I threw away a lot because I did not upgrade my inventory at all.
Every single time I fought an enemy, I would end up getting like anti-poison medicine or whatever.
I threw all that away. Yep.
Yeah, I was like, well, I know I'm going to need it because this one enemy still poisons me every time I fight it, so it would be nice to have it. And yeah, so inventory management became a real problem, and I did mention that in my review. That was probably one of the most frustrating parts for me, is like every single time I couldn't just win a battle and move on. I had to win a battle, go through my inventory, figure out what I want to drop, figure out what I want to keep, and that was every single time, and it was annoying. But and I had to keep the medicines too, because I didn't understand the PE energy part until the end of the game either. So I would also run out of PE energy, and I couldn't heal myself when I needed to. So I would have to rely on meds to heal me.
Yeah, I pretty much got rid of all my junk because I knew I wasn't going to be doing a second playthrough anytime soon. That's pretty much when you would use that stuff anyways, unless you really want to grind hard at the end, which I just didn't want to because I didn't see the point since I was already doing so much damage. I threw away all my status ailment healing items because I didn't need that because I could use my PE powers. And I also, like, every weapon that I had either got dismantled or just put into storage. Same with armor, except for what I was using. Everything went in there. The items that Meta gives, they don't do anything, so they all went into storage and everything. I literally would just carry just tons of healing items.
That was weird to me. Like, when he handed those to me, I was like, "Oh, this means something," but I have no idea.
Nothing. Nothing. Literally says it in the guide, like nothing. That was one thing I did notice. I know I said before I didn't read much, but I was curious as to what that did, so I looked it up and was like, you can put this in your inventory or in your storage because it doesn't do anything. I was like, thanks, dude.
Some of the shortcomings of this game make me think that maybe they didn't have enough time to finish the game, because I feel like there's some things in there that aren't thought out, such as those items, such as the lack of explaining how the weapons and stuff work.
True, it could also be and I hate to think this, but it could also have been on purpose to be like, here's more to deal with your inventory issues.
Yeah, well, try to make your life a little bit more frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, it may be, but honestly, the length of the game is awesome. I like that it's a short game.
Absolutely.
In a world where every game that I play now is, 20, 30, 40, 50 hours long, it's refreshing to play a game that's 8 to 10 hours, and
absolutely.
I make time for games like that. I have a hard time making time for games like Red Dead Redemption. It's just, it's not within my schedule.
And a game that's this good, that's 8 to 10 hours. So,
and it's still really good. And, I think that's the gist of my frustrations with the game. As far as like positives go, I guess we really discussed those in the review. I don't know that I can really add much to that. Other
did
than
you ever, just out of curiosity, did you ever play the second one?
No, and I kind of like to. I heard that it's completely different.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, I always wanted to finish the first one first, obviously, but I definitely want to check out the second one at some point. And Third Birthday, I heard, is
I've played Third Birthday. Third Birthday is not bad. Is
it as sexist as they say?
No, I didn't. I mean, like the
like
front
with
of the box
damage.
What is it?
I heard every time she takes damage, more of her clothes come off or get like more tattered and torn.
Oh, yeah, that is a thing. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Like what? Come on, what is the point? Like, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm just kind of like I'm not one of those people who gets like offended by that stuff. But at the same time, just like, isn't there something you could have done to devote the time and resources to make another aspect of the game better? I don't know. It's just weird to me.
It's Japanese. I mean, that's the way I explained it off.
Fair enough.
Yeah, the thing is with that game is it doesn't feel like the original Parasite Eve. Even the second game. Now I have played the second game, but very, very briefly, maybe 20, 30 minutes in. And the battle systems are so different. It's more action bit oriented. I would classify it as like a third person shooter. Third Birthday is.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't remember many RPG elements at all, really, which is weird to me because the first game is an RPG. It is straight up an RPG. Yeah. It's not a survival horror like it was marketed to be. It was marketed to be for that crowd of people who enjoyed Resident Evil like myself, and it wasn't that at all.
See, I never played Resident Evil. I just, like I said in the review, I saw Squaresoft on the box and I was like, done, sold, I'm in.
Well, and that makes sense because it is what Square does best, and that's their RPGs.
It certainly wasn't like any of the other Square RPGs at the time, though.
It was close. Okay, I've got playing through that reminded me a lot of Final Fantasy VIII. Did you get that impression at all?
I mean, now that I think about it, I could see it a little bit. Yeah, but like Manhattan and like a little too much sci-fi. Well, I say too much, not like it's a bad thing, but I don't know. Anytime I thought JRPGs, I thought like fantasy setting, or at least a mix of fantasy and some sort of realism on some level. Like Final Fantasy VIII absolutely like has the realistic look and that kind of thing, but there's still like major fantasy elements within that. Parasite Eve doesn't have any of that, but I could definitely see a comparison on some level.
I'm thinking more in terms of looks and gameplay more than setting or even story. Like the character animations and models reminded me so much of a Final Fantasy VIII character. I mean, they looked very similar to me. The kind of tall, pixelated, polygonal look that they had, and their postures and their mannerisms and the way they reacted to certain situations reminded me of the characters in Final Fantasy VIII quite a bit.
Who was the character designer? Do you know?
For
either game,
I don't know. Not only that, but the way that you would explore environments and find little treasure chests and stuff and find things within them also was a characteristic of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of little things. I just felt like I was playing a Final Fantasy set in a modern time, you know?
Okay, you know what, and I remember now that I'm looking at it. When I first booted up the game on Parasite Eve, and I saw Eve in her like red hair and spikes all over the place, I was like, man, this totally looks like a Nomura character. And I looked it up, and sure enough, he was the character designer on Parasite Eve.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well,
he was not for Final Fantasy VIII though. But like as far as Aya goes though, absolutely, like I could totally see a resemblance because they just look like normal humans.
Right, and that's probably the extent of it, but it felt that way to me. So whenever you were coming up with ideas for games to want to try to review, what made you want to pick Parasite Eve?
You picked it. If you remember,
well, out of your list.
Yeah, honestly, like I was trying to think of games that would be like, I kind of try to do a little bit of everything, just that way if there was something, because I'll play anything, to be honest with you. I'm not like super picky, especially if I know I'm going to be playing it alongside somebody else. That motivates me to want to finish it and get through it, because that's you're playing a solo game, but at the same time you're playing with somebody because you get to talk to them and compare notes and then talk about it like we are right now and that kind of stuff. So I really didn't care. I just picked 5 different games completely that I had not finished, that I wanted to get to at some point, that I knew you would most likely have an interest in as well. And that's why I was like, here, have at it, take your choice.
Dude, that list was amazing. Like every one of the games that you picked in that list was like, yes, I haven't beat this, I haven't beat that, and I definitely want to play through this. But ultimately what led me to choose Parasite Eve was the fact that it kind of felt like that one that got away from me, that I started to play and for whatever reason didn't finish it. Well, actually I know the reasons. It's because it didn't scratch that survival horror itch that I wanted it to. So not only that, but it was like one of the shortest games on your list. So in terms of how long to take to beat it, I will say that I went on howlongtobeat.com and looked every one of them up and said, which one does not require the most amount of time?
That's funny.
And it was Parasite Eve.
So. No, I think that worked out perfectly because it was, we didn't know how it was going to turn out. This was going to be our first, joint review together and stuff. And It's probably best that we started off with a shorter game. I didn't even take that into consideration when I did it, and honestly, I didn't even know how short it was. When I played it as a kid, like the memories that I had of it, I remember spending quite a bit of time with it. Maybe I didn't, I don't know. But like, if you would have asked me before we did this playthrough how long I thought it was, I would have said like, I don't know, 30, 40 hours or something like that. Because that's for some reason was put into my brain like that. So when you mentioned it, and then I went on to How Long to Beat and saw it, and I was like, oh my, okay. This will work out perfectly. Great.
Yeah.
I was blown away by how short it was. I had no idea, and I was happy with it because it ended up, everything turned out really great. So definitely need to look at doing some more of that stuff in the future. I think once it comes out, we're definitely going to, and we might do stuff before then, but we talked about doing Crystal Chronicles when the remake comes out, because I had a group of 4 people originally on. We all had my GameCube. We all had Game Boy Advances, link cables. We did the whole spiel every Friday night for like 3 months. We met at my apartment and we all played. It was so much fun. But the problem was we got to the final dungeon and there's a massive difficulty spike. And we were like,
oh, weird.
Holy crap. And, you're playing through with your friends. The last thing you want to do is have to grind with your friends. You want to get to some action. You want to do stuff and everything like that. And it just kind of took all the steam out of everything that we had. And we just stopped playing, unfortunately. But it was so much fun before then.
That game is one I remember when it came out. I was super excited about it, especially for the multiplayer aspect. I thought it was something that I could play with Amy, and I think we did. Like, I would take a controller, she would take a controller, and I had a Game Boy Advance, so we could play together. The problem was we didn't really kind of follow through and get into it. And I do remember enjoying the art style and thinking that the gameplay concept was unique.
Definitely.
But we never really got into it. And it's always one that I wanted to go back and revisit. So when they announced that they're bringing it back with online capabilities, I'm all about that. I'll be
curious to see how they do it this time, though. Because like, if they do local co-op, I don't know. Unless they have some way to make it, to where you can see your menus while everybody else's stuff is still going on. Because the main reason you were using your Game Boy Advance as the controller on those was because you would choose your magic spells and switch your equipment and all that stuff from your Game Boy screen. That way it didn't, like Secret of Mana, the way you're choosing spells and stuff while you're playing co-op, it freezes the game for everybody else so that one player can choose whatever they're doing. This was a way to avoid that. You do everything on your individual controller. Now, if you're playing online with the remake, I totally get that because you can do all your stuff from your own screen. That's fine. I get that. But if you're playing local co-op with just a controller that doesn't have a second screen, I'm wondering how they're going to do that. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Maybe they end up having to pause the game for everybody else. I mean, I don't know how
that
else
would
you
suck.
would do it.
That would suck if so, because also the combat's like a lot more fast-paced than Secret of Mana. Not to mention so you played a 2-player?
Yeah.
Because that had to have been brutal with the Chalice.
Oh, yeah, that may have been the reason why we stopped. To be honest with you, I don't remember why we even stopped, but we did give it a shot. But yeah, that makes sense. Because
even with 4 people, it was like, all right, who gets Chalice duty? And I like me being I love team games, I love co-op games. I'm always willing to be like, I'll be the last person to pick my character just so I can round out the team. I'll be like, if nobody else wants to be the healer, I'll do it. That kind of stuff. Like, I play a healer in Final Fantasy 14, but in that game, I was like, pretty much always, if nobody spoke up and volunteered, I'd be like, I'll get it. Don't worry about it, guys. Just guard me, and I just run around and try not to get hit and stuff. But you put it down and you fight and whatnot. But it worked out because my character was a ranged character, so I could just put it down and sit in the back.
Player.
I just love playing with other people. I'm not crazy about competitive stuff. I like it and I can do it, but man, you put me on a team with other people and we're all working towards some common goal. That's so much fun to me. I love it.
I wish that you were into competitive stuff because we have been, daily. I'd say daily we're playing Black Ops. It's Amy is addicted to that game. I mean, straight addicted to that game. I don't know where it came from. She used to love playing paintball when we were younger, when we first met, and she got away from it, and I think it's scratching that itch. She always wanted to go back and play again, and I think it's kind of doing that for her.
I see you on there all the time on my friends list on PS4. Yeah.
There's so many other games I want to play, but I'm just having so much fun with it. If you were into it at all, I would highly recommend it. It's a good game.
I'm actually a buddy of mine yesterday. Last week, a friend of mine got Monster Hunter, and then another buddy of mine yesterday was like, "I'm itching to get back into Monster Hunter. JJ, you want to play this weekend?" I was like, "Oh, I probably have to update, but yeah, sure." So I'm actually updating that right now. And I'll probably end up playing that this weekend.
As much as I liked Monster Hunter, I don't know that I liked it enough to want to go back to it.
I would not go back to it if I didn't have people to play with. The plan was not to go back to it. Not because, again, same as you. I loved what I played. Like when we played, I loved playing in a group and just like seeing like who was it, your brother that was playing with us also, right?
I believe so, yeah.
And like I just loved getting in there and just, you know, the three of us just running out there and taking down these big huge beasts as a team and stuff. It was just so much fun. And then, you know, when I would play by myself, it was kind of like, this is all right. Or you play with random people, it's like, you know. But
it's not nearly that is a straight up co-op game. If you don't have any people to play with you, it's not fun. I didn't enjoy my time with it unless we were together playing. But even with that, I reached a point in the game where there were no new locations opening up, and we were just beating the same monsters over and over again. And once a game starts repeating itself, that's when I kind of lose interest in it.
The good thing is, though, I think we played enough to where we definitely got our money's worth out of it, for sure.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It was worth the time that I put into it, the money that I paid for it. Yep. But, you know, I'm done with it. Yeah, so are you getting Crystal Chronicles on the Switch or the PlayStation 4?
That I have not decided yet. I do not know. Yeah. Switch would be great to have it on.
Switch would be great if the online system wasn't so awful.
Correct.
So
and
I'm
also
thinking
trophies.
Yeah.
I got a video coming out about that I'm gonna be making because I'm so fed up with trophies because it's like literally affecting what system I buy games for.
Oh,
and
man.
I'll address it in the video, but it's so frustrating.
I've been there. You should see my gamer score on Xbox. I was so addicted to earning gamer score on Xbox. I've got like 120,000 points on my gamer score on Xbox. Yeah,
I don't even think crazy. I have 10,000.
Dude.
I haven't played Forza though.
Oh, we need to play Forza together for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. I love it.
It's a great game. But there was games that I would buy on the Xbox specifically for the gamer score. I would look up online to figure out which games handed out gamer score the easiest and buy those, or not buy them. I would rent them, play them, get the gamer score, and then return it. I was that bad about it.
My buddy Brandon, who was on my old podcast a few times, he was the same way. Once he hit 100,000, though, he kind of like dropped off and like
me too,
just wasn't into it as much. He still plays every now and then, but like before that, he was like there was like a Hello Kitty game that he played and like some really super easy. He was just getting off the wall stuff, and I'd look at it and be like, "What are you playing, dude?" He's like, "I got to get Game Store, man. Got to do it.
Yeah,
I got to suffer through it. It's fine."
It was a competition. I took it very competitively because Xbox would tell you what of your friends, how much gamer score they would have, and if they were ahead of you or not. It's like that he can't beat me. I have to get more gamer score than him. And for me, it really was a competitive thing. And I say I'm not competitive, but for certain things I get competitive. I don't know why. But for me, it was like I remember renting Avatar: The Last Airbender. That game was the easiest game to get gamer score for. You could get the maximum amount, it's like 1,000 points from it in literally like 5 minutes, in the first 5 minutes of the game. There's only like 5 or 10 achievements to unlock, and they're all combat based, and they're very easy combat based. So yeah, you can get them on the first few enemies that you fight.
Interesting.
I always remember that one because we tried to get it. But I remember playing like Halo 3 and trying to get through a certain area just so I could get that achievement at the end, you know, and super frustrating area of the game, and just for that gamer score. And just to say that I have that achievement point. I kind of miss those days, to be honest with you. I don't care about it much anymore.
I want to get there, but it's starting to hit me with the trophies. Like on PS4, I am like it's just I'll save it for the video, but it's just it's so fresh. Let's just say I totally would have bought Starlink on PS4 had it not been for Star Fox.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
And I would have played it differently because I would have, if I was on PS4. That is a game that have you played it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I had fun. Oh yeah, right there. Okay, I had fun just unlocking stuff and like actually doing all the side stuff and hitting all the points that you could get and everything on each planet. But I got to a point where I got bored of it and I didn't have any reason to do it, so I was just like, all right, well, I'll just go on, continue on with the story and stuff like that. If I was on PS4, I would have played it differently and I would have gone for everything because it was addicting to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But on my Switch, I was like, "There's no point. I'm not getting anything out of it." And I don't say that as like Nintendo should get trophies, not by any means. I'm not advocating for that at all. I'm just saying I think it's kind of sad that I'm getting a reward over just the fun of the game itself.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
You're right. That you are in the same boat now that I was in with the Xbox 360 days. I remember getting games like Final Fantasy 12 on my PlayStation 2 and being so excited to play that and not giving it the amount of time because it wasn't giving me achievement points. I needed to go play games that were giving me achievement points. So a lot of games went to the wayside. I missed out on a lot of games on the PlayStation 3, on the Wii, on the PS2 back in those days just because I was so focused. Everything had to be on Xbox 360. But yeah, it doesn't matter to me anymore. So, which is nice. Feels like freedom. I can play a game on the Switch and not worry about it not giving me achievement points. So anyway, hey man, that was a fun discussion. I think we got way off topic, but
talking games. That's what we're here for.
Exactly. Well, JJ, where can they find you, man?
You can find me at Game Room Revival on YouTube. I do reviews, I do rants, I do just me talking about stuff that interests me and just a channel that I know I would personally want to watch. And so if other people enjoy it, awesome.
Honestly, that's the best way to do it because you got to do something that you enjoy and hope that others like it too. And if they don't, as far as I'm concerned, if they don't like it, it's okay because I still enjoy doing it.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, JJ.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always fun.